Many of you may not realize this, but last night was the first night of the Democratic National Convention, and it was a complete and unmitigated disaster. About 95% of the DNC's live show was cringe content, to which Marianne Williamson, you may remember her from the Democratic primary, said it was like binge watching a Marriott commercial. Other celebrities chimed in, very disappointed at how awful it was, with one saying it was like a PBS pledge drive and another saying, it doesn't matter, just don't vote for Trump. The DNC is supposed to be lighting a fire under people, but it's almost like they're not even campaigning. And the things they do are just absolute cringe. Apparently, for some reason, they did what may be considered to be one of the cringiest performances ever, for which Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk, a progressive, said, the moment Trump won re-election, when Billy Porter closed the DNC with a powerful protest song, and it seemed like the production value was that of a freshman high school talent show. That's how bad it was. Now, of course, you still have some of these celebrities trying to maintain appearances, saying things like, I'm crying and I could watch this all night, cheering for these just awful meme videos. It's surprising how bad it was. But I noticed something. The Democrats seem to be completely out of time. I mean, in the sense that, like, they're not functioning as though it's 2020. They're behind on how to make memes. They don't understand modern culture. They don't even understand the internet. On their YouTube channel, where they're supposed to be putting out these videos, some of their videos only have like 1,000 or 2,000 views. Just nothing in terms of the internet. There are little kids who put up videos of them drinking bottled water that get more views than that. Yet for some reason, the DNC couldn't muster it. Now, of course, there are people who watched, but it seems like they're relying on legacy media to put their message out for them. And you can't rely on that, especially when your DNC is digital. How were you not prepared for better production values and to actually market your own convention? It's no wonder Joe Biden wasn't actually going to go. The whole thing was a disaster. It's no wonder Chris Wallace of Fox News recently said that they weren't sending out any surrogates to talk about what was going to be happening at the convention. It feels like they're just going through the motions and they plan to lose. In the DNC, what do? They have this knockoff of Brandon Strzok's walk away testimonial video, and he even calls it out. There's also this really awful regurgitated meme put out by the Late Show where it shows all the Democrats as the Avengers, and it's just derivative of memes we've already seen. There's no creativity. There's no originality. They have become unhip, culturally irrelevant old people who don't know how to use the internet. Which says to me, I really do think they're planning on losing. But how about this? Let's go through what Marianne and many other celebrities have to say, show you why Kyle Kalinske thinks Trump just won re-election, because you got to see some of this video, man. It is remarkably awful. And then I want to talk to you about the RNC, because you're not getting a free pass on this one, Republicans. I'll put a but in there and we'll see how this plays out. But I want to talk about the upcoming RNC as well. Our first story from Breitbart, Marianne Williamson, DNC like binge watching a Marriott commercial. Did I say Marianne Williams? Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's many ways you can give. I got a P.O. box if you'd like to send stuff, but the best thing you can do, subscribe to this channel. About half the people who watch aren't subscribed, and that means YouTube is less likely to actually send you my videos when they're live. So just below the video player, little red button says subscribe, give it a nice little tap or click. Now you're more likely to get my content. Also hit the like button, the notification bell, and then you're really, hopefully, more likely to get my content. And if you really want to support the channel, just share this video to help spread the word. Let's read from Breitbart. They say, Williamson, who has criticized the Democratic political establishment's lies and cruelty, posted commentary during the DNC noting that none of the speakers except for Bernie had policy solutions to the problems they pointed out. Quote, beautiful pictures of POC and reference to Black Lives Matter, but no actual policy on how to end systemic racism. Williamson said, touching homage to COVID victims and responders, but no actual policy on providing universal health care. No policy, period, except for Bernie. I have said this over and over again. The Democrats are offering nothing. Donald Trump is. Donald Trump says law and order on those riots. I'm like, okay. Donald Trump says I might pardon some people. I'll talk about income disparity. I'm like, sure, I guess. But Donald Trump actually has been talking about things he wants to do. He wants to withdraw our troops from various areas. He wants to secure our borders. I know what his plan is. What is their plan? To be fair, I don't know what the Republicans are doing either. I think Trump is very different from the rest of the Republicans. And while there are a few Republicans that I do like, I see Matt Gaetz and Josh Hawley actively trying to repair the damage done by all these big tech social media companies and how they're seizing the commons. I can respect that. I have no idea what the Democrats are trying to do other than offering up empty platitudes and nonsensical statements or just ragging on Trump. As the trope goes, ask a Democrat why they're supporting Biden without mentioning Trump, and they won't be able to do it. For me, I'll be fair. Ask me why I will likely be voting for Trump, and I will absolutely point to the failures of the Democrats and the riots. But also, I can point to some things Donald Trump is doing that I like. Withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, here. I'd like to see him pardon some particular individuals. I'd like to see him legalize certain substances. I don't know if he'll actually do any of that, but at least he's already made some moves I do like. Democrats, I have no idea what they're doing. They say at one point, Williamson compared the DNC to a commercial for Marriott. This is just so good. Marianne, you are amazing for this. She says, no, I'm sorry, but they did not address racism. They showed a lot of beautiful pictures of POC and made references to BLM, but there was not one mention of an actual policy to help end systemic racism. It's like binge watching a Marriott commercial. I gotta clap for that. That was incredible. Less than 30 minutes into the first evening of DNC speeches, Williamson posted that she wanted to like it, but could not. I wanted to like it. I really did. I promise I did. I respect Marianne. She's been very honest in the past, talking about how the left is really mean and the Republicans are so nice to her. Yes, there's a big tent on the right. It's not even the Republicans. It's because people like me and others have joined the Republicans for a beer to discuss our issues because there is a cringy, corrupt establishment that has no idea what they're doing. Chris Wallace pointed something out, and I've highlighted this before. The darndest thing I've ever seen. I'm making it family friendly, mind you. He said a different word. Chris Wallace on Biden campaign, not putting any surrogates on Sunday shows before convention. Now we know why. Like Kyle Kalinske says, the moment Trump won re-election, and it's this. Billy Porter and Stephen Stills perform For What It's Worth for DNC, and man, is this cringe-inducing to no end. Take a look at this. You can see on YouTube up in the right corner. There's another video from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, 56% likes, thumbs up. It means about half the people did not like it. Look at this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to drag anybody or be overly disrespectful. Like I just got to say it. Billy Porter doing this shuffle dance with this weird green screen, lo-fi, like just awful production quality. This is like, and again, not to disparage high school freshmen. This is the kind of content you see from a kid who just downloaded like Movie Maker and slapped some images together. Not something you'd expect from a massive political convention for one of our major political parties. This says to me, I really do feel like the Democratic Party has crumbled entirely. For real. You've got attacks on the left, attacks on the right. The moderate corporate Democrats have no idea how to be cool, how to run their own programs. It is just, I'll put it this way. This tweet from Delicious Tacos. I'm not sure who Delicious Tacos is. I'm not someone to normally reference, just these kind of Twitter accounts, just 17,000 followers, whoever. But Delicious Tacos on Twitter, for what it's worth, said this about Kyle Kalinski's The Moment Trump Won Re-Election. He's right that this is an inflection point, but it's cultural, not electoral. This is the exact moment the center left lost the mainstream culture war. No one can ever say they own cool again. I show you this image. The Billy Porter shuffle dance with an old Stephen Stills just playing guitar and standing still. And I'm sorry, it was epic cringe. Now, that's not going to stop some of these diehard resistance Democrats from defending whatever this disaster was. And still, you'll get Samantha Bee and Billy Eichner kind of realizing, boy, was this awful. Check this out from Breitbart. Hollywood celebrities perform cheerleading duty for DNC convention. I'm so happy I'm a effing Democrat. And that was from Alyssa Milano. Yikes. She is not particularly known for her credibility. And there are a lot of people who they're united by Trump derangement syndrome. But I got to shout out Alyssa Milano's they're not attached to reality, these people, okay? She tweeted a couple weeks ago, She said, we live in a world where Joe Rogan has 3 times the viewers of my podcast. And it's like, do you really think you're getting 65 million downloads per month, Alyssa Milano? Because I think Joe Rogan actually gets a little bit more than 200 million per month. Alyssa Milano doesn't even rank in the top podcasts. These people are delusional. So you know what? I can rag on them, but I can also be fairly optimistic. You know why? What I was saying earlier, all of this, they're not sending out surrogates. There's no production value. I think they know they're going to lose. And when they claim they're the majority and they claim they're winning, I just think about what Alyssa Milano said about her podcast. These people are narcissists who think they're bigger and more important than they really are. And they don't have that level of attention, but they're convinced they do. To me, that's remarkable. All of these polls we're seeing, I think it's just self-congratulatory patting on the back where they're all cheering for each other, thinking they're the greatest and the best. And they're not. I mean, I look at the like ratios, the viewership, it's just not there. So we'll talk about the RNC. I'm not going to give them a free pass, but I think they may pull something off better. But let's read. Breitbart says, Democratic stalwarts, including Rob Reiner, Bette Midler, Mia Farrow, and Cher, took the lead in attempting to energize the party base around the Biden-Harris ticket. Actress and left-wing activist Alyssa Milano tweeted, I'm so happy I'm a effing Democrat. But other stars seem to acknowledge that they had a clunker on their hands. TBS's Full Frontal with Samantha Bee tweeted that this was the first national convention to also feel like a PBS pledge drive. The virtual convention kicked off with a dose of Hollywood star power in the form of actress Eva Longoria, who tore into the Trump administration by saying the last 4 years have left the country diminished and divided. The convention also featured celebrity assists from singers, including Bruce Springsteen, Leon Bridges, and the late John Prine, whose music helped to enliven the proceedings. Helped, I guess. Rob Reiner said, watching the singing of our national anthem gave me chills. So proud to see the real America. So proud to be a Democrat. Bette Midler said, they had me at the Pledge of Allegiance. What? You guys are the ones cheering for the people kneeling during the national anthem. How are you now proclaiming your patriotism for a country when people are going around smashing and destroying statues and you support them? At the convention, all of these people were like peaceful protests over and over and over again. And I'm sick of the lies, man. It's been riot after riot after riot. Now, there have been some peaceful protests, fine, but they're absolutely referring to the riots because they say Trump's secret police came out and attacked peaceful protesters. What are we talking about? It was defending a courthouse in Portland. That's the only place he did it. Everywhere else, these people are running amok. People are getting seriously injured. Now, all of a sudden, they're patriots? Are you kidding me? Well, congratulations. You lost the Antifa vote. I'm kidding, by the way. They never had it, and that's just true. Cher says, such a beautiful opening. Protect us all. What I love about Cher is that she posts in all caps all the time. I have no idea why. Singer Bruce Springsteen and E Street band member Nils Lofgren touted their own music that was performed in the convention. I mean, good for them, whatever. Some celebrities seemed more excited about the musical numbers than Joe Biden. Comedian Wanda Sykes tweeted her enthusiasm for Bruce Springsteen. Don't really care about that. But now we can see some celebrities trying to splash some cold water on the proceedings, but at least they're being honest. Samantha Bee saying it was a PBS pledge drive. Billy Eichner saying the conventions could not matter less. Vote for the effing devil who's currently leading us into hell, or vote for the human beings. Get involved and help get out the vote. I'm sorry, Billy. I don't believe you are correct. Trump is not the devil. He's got his issues. What I really see is just the left that can't get it's delusional. That's what I got to say. That's the only way I can really put it. A paranoid, delusional state where they're in this self-congratulatory bubble of fake news where they believe all of these things about themselves that aren't true. Here's a tweet from Colbert. Oh, Stephen. He says, Joe Biden says this year's election is the battle for the soul of the nation, but we're calling it something else. America Endgame. It is the scene from Endgame where the Avengers, all rush in. And it is essentially just a knockoff of a meme we have already seen with Trump. It's essentially the same thing, just substantially cringier. So look at this. Mini Mike, this is another response. He says, look, I like Joe and I'll be voting for him, but this was cringy as hell. One person says, I demand an immediate apology to every living being that has the misfortune to watch this. I remember seeing a pro-Trump meme that was very similar to this a while ago, but this is actually worse. Please stop using pop culture stuff to talk about politics. It's not going to get better. They also stole Brandon Strzok's famous walk away style. Here's what he says. Robbie Starbuck says the Democratic National Convention is now ripping off Brennan Strock's walk away movement by pretending there's a bunch of Trump voters who left and became Democrats. What a joke. Brennan says, Robbie, you're only partially correct. Yes, they absolutely stole the video testimonial format from me, but unlike this embarrassing Karen collage, the Democrats rolled out walk away as thousands of videos from black, brown, white, young, old, straight, gay, trans leaving this toxic party. And that's true. There are certainly people who have left the Republican Party to vote Democrat, and you can probably find them. I think they had like 10 or so people. I'm sure, these people exist. But there was a story a while ago where they faked it. Some guy pretended that he voted for Trump in 2016 and claimed he was switching his vote to Democrat this year. It was a big story. Turned out he didn't vote at all. It was a lie. I think the reality is, from what we've seen, those of us who live in reality, there are way more people leaving the Democratic Party than leaving the Republican Party. There are way more Democrats who are going to vote for Trump than Republicans who are going to vote for Democrats. That's just the way it is. In fact, in 2016, 9 million Democrats voted for Donald Trump. 9 million people who had voted Democrat before had voted for Donald Trump. For a lot of reasons, probably, and for a lot of reasons that will likely repeat themselves. You see, the Democrats have this thing about blaming Trump for literally everything. Washington Post says, on Democratic convention's first night, speakers blame Trump for America's woes. The virtual event showcases dozens of testimonials, culminating in an indictment from Michelle Obama. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. If the Democrats had anything to offer, which they don't, Marianne Williamson pointed that out, I'd be listening. I would be listening. But what has Joe Biden offered? Is he for a public option? Is he for, private insurance? Is he for Medicare for all? I guess he's more progressive. I don't know. I don't remember where he's flip-flopped. Kamala Harris is apparently for whatever you say, and she'll just raise her hand. And the Democrats aren't offering up any real policies. Donald Trump is talking about law and order. I'd like to see it get done. He's talking about border security. I get it. He's talking about bringing jobs back to this country, which he's done in large numbers, lowering unemployment and fixing our economy. All of these things I've seen him do. I understand what he's doing. And I say, okay, I'll take it. Particularly withdrawing our force from the Middle East. Hey, I'm totally down. What do the Democrats have to show for what they're doing? Literally nothing, except for Bernie Sanders, apparently. Listen. We are in for several more nights of the DNC, and it already on night one was a disaster of cringe. There is going to be a night to night of epic cringe. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be doing a live podcast with somebody who left the Democratic Party and is going to vote for Trump. And tomorrow, I'm going to be sitting down with quite literally the man who wrote the book on this, Jack Murphy, on the Timcast IRL show. And then we're going to have a bit more walk away for, some other individuals. I'll just leave it at that for the rest of the week. And we're going to be talking about why people have quit the Democratic Party. And I don't think you're going to be surprised at all. I think most of you probably feel similarly. I am not an individual, and this channel is not a channel that is cheering Republican policy. It's critical of the Democratic establishment and many of the far left over their insane policies. Look what happened the other night. The 2020 Democratic National Convention only got a couple thousand views on many of their videos. But here's the important takeaway. Now, they've only got 59,000 subs, and I'm not going to pretend like the Republicans are doing any better. But we're in a time right now where you're doing a digital convention. You've known for months. Couldn't you have bolstered your presence on YouTube and other platforms? Couldn't you have put a focus on on literally your own convention? No. Their live stream got 526,000 views. Okay. 73% thumbs up. So it's mostly from people who like to watch. That seems like it's okay, but come on. The Democratic Party can't get more than 500,000 views? Joe Rogan, he's a pot-smoking MMA commentator, gets substantially more views than that. Okay, maybe it's not fair to bring up Rogan because he's been doing this for a long time. But you'd think one of the oldest and largest and most powerful organizations in the country could muster something. You look at these videos that have 66% thumbs down. Many of the views are coming from people who don't like the Democrats. These videos can't get any real traction. Even Michelle Obama's speech only has 2,600 views. Are you kidding me? I thought this was some grand epic statement that people were listening to. Oh, there it is. The media has no idea what Americans want to watch, what they are watching, what they care about. Boom, there's your proof. They did not watch Michelle Obama speak. So when the media comes out and says, Michelle Obama's stunning, display of strength condemning the Trump administration. No, 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 no. You watched it. We didn't. We didn't care. Some people did. 2,000 out of what, 125 million voters? Now, I understand it probably appeared on other platforms. It probably got a little bit more views than that. But if people aren't even going to the DNC's own platform to watch, well, I'm not sure there's any enthusiasm. To be fair, however, I'm not going to let the Republicans off the hook. Like I said, the RNC's YouTube only has 19,000 subscribers as well, and their videos do way, way worse. Albeit they haven't put up anything pertaining to this upcoming RNC. But the issue for me is not about whether the Republicans know how to pull it off, because the Republicans have never been cool. Seriously, Barack Obama was one of the first presidents to use social media for a campaign. The Democrats had the digital lead. The Democrats had the cool celebrities, not the Republicans. So if the Republicans don't have it, I don't care. I don't like the Republicans either. What I'm really talking about is that the Democrats have lost whatever it is. And I'm not going to pretend like they've always been cool or anything like that. But the left typically had the celebrities. I remember back in like the 2000s, there was this video from, I think it was called Prop 8 in California. And you had all of these celebrities, SNL, you had Jack Black, and they were doing this musical number, and people thought it was hilarious. It went viral. Where is that gone? It is gone. Now you've got memes and jokes and fun and beers and parties coming from the right. The left has become stodgy. And while much of the Republican Party is still stodgy and ineffective, they've somehow attracted a lot of hip young people who know how to use social media, who know how to make memes, and are laughing and having a good time. I'm not going to pretend the Republicans are doing much better when it comes to their social media strategy, but they do have way better and way more viral videos. They know how to make this content. Listen, several Republicans like Sean Parnell and now Kimberly Klacik, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, have put out these insanely viral videos, these political ads. They're new, they're hip, they're edgy. They know how to communicate effectively. Now, Trump and the Democrats have put out these old school style, political ads where it's like, you'll get some guy saying Joe Biden doesn't actually support, workers' rights or whatever. And I think those are old school. I look at the Republicans and I see them doing a much better job, and the Democrats aren't. To be fair, you do have the likes of Ocasio-Cortez, who is with it in terms of social media. She's just not with it in terms of actual policy I would agree with, and I think she does a really bad job. But absolutely, to be fair, there are young progressives who do kind of get this. And I'll just say this. When I see Kyle Kulinski, who's got a big YouTube channel, who's a very prominent social media commentator on the progressive side, I think he's a pretty good dude, though I disagree with him on a lot of issues, obviously. When he's saying they're losing, I go, wow, yeah, man. But guess what? Trump puts out memes and ads and they're hilarious, so they delete them. Twitter deletes them. They file DMCAs. They're desperate to shut down the hip and fun and edgy memes from the president and his supporters. They're banning satire accounts who mock the left. No joke. So I think the Republicans are starting to emerge as the dominant force in terms of cultural fun. I don't know, however you want to call it. Things that are inspiring and inspiring freedom and making us laugh. We got some updates on the upcoming RNC, however. Check this out. The St. Louis couple who brandished guns when protesters invaded their neighborhood will speak at the RNC. Wow. The McCloskeys are going to speak. That's going to be interesting. We'll see it. But also, check this out. Covington Catholic graduate Nick Sandman will also speak at the RNC. I got to say wow to that. There was a tweet earlier about the Democrats and who's speaking, and someone said, who thought this was a good idea? Yeah, they didn't have it. They had the cringiest cringe content ever. And even their own supporters were like, yikes, man. Except for the sycophants who are cheering, saying, it's great, just keep doing it. No, tell them it's bad. Make them fix it. And the Democratic Party, I think, is hopeless because they're fractured. They couldn't be more fractured. And I'll tell you what, Donald Trump is doing better than ever. Trump has narrowed the gap with Biden, with the Democratic challenger's lead shrinking to just 1 point in 15 battleground states and 4 points nationally. That's margin of error territory. Trump is on track to win. They know it. That's why they're failing. They don't care. They're not going to send out people. They're not going to waste money. They know they are losing. That's what I feel. But don't get complacent. For all we know, Joe Biden's going to come out and he is going to knock one out of the park. So you got to take it seriously. But I want to make sure before I wrap things up, I am absolutely fair when I point out the Democrats haven't always been good at this, okay? The 1996 DNC was lit, says this epic YouTube video of the Clinton DNC, and they're all clapping and dancing to the Macarena, and boy, is it cringy, but perhaps it's cringy by today's standards. I mean, the Macarena was a big pop culture phenomenon that was considered hokey and fun. If the Democrats did like the Gangnam Style dance or whatever when it was popular, we'd probably all have laughed and just said like, we get it. It's meant to be silly and hokey. What they were doing back then, as much as people will laugh at how cringe it is, they're doing this. Back then, it was a particularly fun pop culture moment. And I think all of their laughing isn't necessarily like, I think they were self-aware back then. You know, they're doing this cringy, fun, stupid pop culture dance and everyone's just laughing and it's silly. Today, wow, is it bad? Yeah, substantially worse. I guess the way I'd put it is the DNC had this one moment where they all danced and it was silly. Maybe they've always been cringy. Maybe the Democrats have always been stodgy, sure, but at least they had celebrities on their side. They still kind of do, but the celebrities aren't cool either. They're not. I think the real fun, the real memes, what makes people feel good and inspired is coming from the right, for the most part. I was thinking about this, talking on the IRL podcast, I was having a conversation with some Hollywood celebrity types a few months ago. And they said, I'm clearly, Tim, you're clearly not a Republican, of course. It's like you're a skateboarding musician with a beanie on. That's not a professional look. I went to the White House and I wore a t-shirt, I wore a button-up jeans and a beanie, and everyone else is wearing a suit. And that's a perfect example of, I think, what's happening. The hippies, the freedom-loving left libertarians and right libertarians and conservatives and moderates are basically united because we're all like, hey, we all disagree on so much. Why don't we just live and let live? Real liberty. The Democrats aren't. They've become authoritarian and unhip. And so they're trying to enforce their unhipness by banning things that are fun and funny. And that's what's been happening on social media. You can't fight it forever, man. Your convention is an example of how bad you are at engaging in common culture or anything fun and exciting. And that's what you get. Maybe you should have figured out how to actually communicate instead of just doing this stodgy garbage. Well, there's more nights of the DNC coming up, and I'm doing Un-DNC week here at Timcast IRL. So we've got a bunch of awesome speakers lined up for this week. It was inadvertent. I didn't do it on purpose. But we got a bunch of walk away people who have left the Democratic Party. So we're going to be talking about that tonight, 8 p.m. live over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Check it out. For everybody else, and before we get there, you can check out my next bit of content at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastNews. I know I have a bunch of channels, but I will see you at 6. Thanks for hanging out, or I'll see you live. I'll see you then. Adios.